Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak mentioned the rising cost of energy bills in the debate. This comes as several members of Parliament across the UK warned that millions of people will be plunged into unmanageable debt this winter unless the government comes up with a support plan.
When we get in, we'll have to see what happens to energy bills. I think people have seen from me over the past couple of years that as the situation changes on the ground, I'm always going to respond to support people through it. But that's just about the short term. I think it's also worth us taking a moment to think, well, how do we solve this problem in the long term? We've had this problem where we know energy bills are very volatile, and we need to actually now see what they're going to end up at. And if there's more that needs to be done, of course I would do that, as I've done over the past 2 years.
The Business and Energy Select Committee's report suggested a few measures to ease the rising energy costs while guarding against a possible future crisis. It said the energy price cap should be replaced with a social tariff and called the energy regulator Ofgem negligent. The committee also suggested a national home insulation programme be launched urgently. The committee says that the £15 billion support package has now been left redundant given the rising energy prices, while pointing out that no further support will be led to an unacceptable rise in fuel poverty and hardship this coming winter. Well, Sally is still with us on this broadcast. Sally, tell me, how are these soaring bills going to impact real people across the UK?
Well, obviously this is set as the UK is in summer. The concerns are as we go into winter, these fuel costs and these energy costs are going to just soar more and more. One committee member said that they were told by a number of witnesses, if you think things are bad now, you've not seen anything yet. It's important to remember that this report comes amid a number of concerns and a growing cost of living crisis in the UK. It's not just energy. We're also seeing rising prices and inflation at a 40-year high here. So the war in Ukraine has, of course, like the rest of the world, seen the cost of fuel absolutely soar. And so people are really having to cut back on car journeys, and they're also having to cut back on basics like food and clothing. A recent report found that clothing sales were down by almost 5% in the UK as people are just having to make cuts and make decisions about whether to feed themselves or to heat their homes. We've seen food banks start to speak out, saying that they really cannot cope with the growing demand, and this is only going to get worse and worse unless the government doesn't intervene. This is particularly true of working people who are having to rely on food banks in order to feed their families. We're also seeing a number of major supermarkets launching new campaign to help feed children during the summer holidays. So we're seeing them offer things like discounted or even free meals for children who maybe can't afford to be fed at home. And so this all comes within a much wider and concerning situation here in the UK, where bills are hurtling and people say the government's proposed support, which was proposed back earlier in the year when we hadn't realised maybe the extent to which bills were really going to soar, they say they're just not adequate and the government really must step in and do more.
Yeah, really worrying times across the UK. Sally Patterson reporting from London there.